All right, guys, welcome back to another video. We'll start off here with a very surprising but very good piece of news here for Xbox, and that is that they have outsold the PlayStation 5 in Japan for only the fourth time. So we have totals from last week, and this is according to the Famitsu charts, and we have here that 2,903 Xbox Series X's and 398 Series S's were sold to Japan last week. That totals 3,301. And then for the PlayStation 5, they had a total of 2,933 consoles sold. So Xbox has outsold the PS5 last week by about 400 units, something probably nobody was expecting, as it's been very tough for Xbox to ever compete in the Japanese region. We know going into this generation, that was one of Phil Spencer's main goals, to grow and to get better in Japan, as they pretty much were non-existent during the Xbox One generation. They had a decent 360 generation where a lot of people were picking it up, or a lot more than usual. They had exclusive titles that were only available in the Japanese market, and it did a lot for the Xbox 360. Now, this generation, I think they've done a very good job as well, just making the console, the subscription, the ecosystem far more appealing. There's a couple of things. I mean, you take a look, even just this year, 2023 being such a strong year, and getting announcements for a bunch of games coming into the service. You got the Persona games, and you even have Like a Dragon, Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, that's coming in day one. You have a bunch of Yakuza games in there, and many other titles that would appeal to gamers in the Japanese region. They've done a great job of giving an offering where there would be value, where people would consider picking up an Xbox over a PlayStation. We're kind of seeing it pay off here. Now, there could be stock issues because the last three times they've outsold the PS5 during a week, they cited that there were stock issues with the PS5. The only thing here is we did just recently hear from PlayStation when they came out with their financial reports, and they were saying they're going to set records for sales for the PS5 this year because they have no more stock issues. It's finally at a place where that supply meets the demand. You can walk into a store, you can pick it up. There's no more fighting to get a PlayStation 5 or to get an Xbox for that matter as well. So I would consider it, still blaming it on stock for this sales, somewhat of an excuse, unless there was just a random week here where there was just some crazy circumstances where Japan had no shipments of PS5 and Xbox was able to capitalize on that. I personally think they've just done a great job in 2023, and they've had a far better year than PlayStation. I mean, if you're walking into a store right now and you just want a overview as to what is playable, what services are available like Game Pass, and then what is going to be playable in the future, it's just not even close, the value that you're getting with the Xbox compared to the PlayStation 5. And they have a roadmap that I think is far stronger than PlayStation's going forward. So that may be playing into it as well. What is interesting, though, is that far more Series X's were sold than the Series S. And one thing with the Series S is that it has a small form factor, which is liked more over there. So I'm surprised about that, but maybe they just had more Series X's in stock and people want the more power that comes along with the Xbox Series X. So I think it's just great news for Xbox, and we'll see if they're able to do it more and more as the months go forward. I don't think this will be the last week that Xbox outsells the PS5. I think there will be weeks in the future that do this, but it's obviously never going to come anywhere close to the overall sales of the PS5 or the Nintendo Switch. And the goal here, I think, for the Xbox Series X and S is to sell more consoles than they did during the Xbox 360 generation in Japan. Now, let's jump over here. Let's talk about the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. There have been naysayers and there have been people who have been very positive and happy about this acquisition. And one of those persons who has been Andrew Wilson, EA's CEO, as he talks with CNBC here, talking about the acquisition, saying it is a great thing for the industry. So here's what he says. He says, "I think that Microsoft and Activision is a great thing. It means that one of the world's largest companies is going to continue to invest in our industry to help us grow the industry over time. But as we think about our position, certainly as an independent developer and publisher of the world's leading interactive entertainment content, we feel really good about our opportunity. And to the extent that there are opportunities for us to be acquisitive, we would, of course, look at those." So, I mean, this isn't surprising. I believe EA has already spoken up about how they support this deal to go through. And I wouldn't expect anything less from them. They have a relationship with Xbox that is very strong. A lot of their games do very well on the platform. I mean, they have EA Play available with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. That is, I would say, for a lot of people, a huge positive, a big driver to sign up to the service when you fully understand what you're getting with that. Just Getting Game Pass Ultimate gives you 10-hour trials of pretty much all of their new games. And then you also get all of their new games a couple of months after they have been released, because that's when they generally drop them into their EA Play service. So there is a lot between EA and Xbox that they work together going forward in a way that gives value to customers, value to gamers. And I think we will see more of that going forward. So you're not going to see Andrew Wilson coming out here and saying, yeah, it's bad for the industry. Obviously, for him and for EA, the more Xbox grows, the more Game Pass grows, the better it is for them as well, because I'm sure they get a pretty sweet deal for helping get people into Game Pass. When people play EA games, I'm sure there is some sort of deal going on there where EA does benefit from people jumping into EA games via the Xbox Game Pass service. So they want to see them grow as well. But the other interesting thing that he does say here is that they are potentially acquisitive, meaning they're going to be looking for opportunities to acquire more companies, acquire more developers for them to grow as well. And this is something we're going to see more and more of going into 2024. If we thought Activision Blizzard was the end, it's not the end. It's only really the beginning. The Activision Blizzard and Bethesda of more acquisitions to continuously occur in the industry, not only from Xbox, but from, I would say, all the other big players out there. And one of those big players is going to be Sony. Sony is going to continue to try to acquire, as they did yesterday. We got this announcement here, but it's not for a gaming developer. It is for something that actually doesn't surprise me, because I think this is the direction that PlayStation is going to be going in order to try to counter Xbox, in order to try to stay in the running, and in order to be able to continue to compete on the level that I think Xbox Game Pass is going to be able to compete. It says here that Sony Interactive Entertainment is going to be acquiring iSize, which is a UK-based company specializing in deep learning for video delivery. And that's the key thing here, video delivery. What this company does is they specialize, again, in deep learning, and they build AI-powered solutions to deliver bitrate savings and quality improvements for the media and entertainment industry. The acquisition provides SIE with significant expertise in applying machine learning to video processing, which will benefit a range of our R&D efforts as well as our video and streaming services. So that's what they say there. And again, I'm not surprised about this. I wouldn't be surprised if PlayStation comes out in a week and says Don Matrick is going to be taking over as the new CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. I think that PlayStation is going directly down that line that Xbox wanted to go down back in 2013. They're seeing here that's going to be almost impossible for them to be able to compete on a games level with subscription. They could put their first party games day and date into PlayStation Plus, and that will make a huge difference. But now with Activision Blizzard and just the sheer amount of games that are going to be dropping all the time into Game Pass from their first parties on Xbox, it's going to be very hard for Sony to compete. I mean, we don't even really have a roadmap for them going into 2024. But one way I think that they are going to try to compete is broaden their reach for the consumer basis, broaden the reach for people that will want to go out and buy a PlayStation, not just only focus on the hardcore gamers. They're going to focus on people that are interested in what they deliver via Sony Pictures. We even saw the other day that I believe I read that you now get a discount if you're a PlayStation Plus member on Sony Pictures movies and videos. So that's just another incentive there for signing up to PlayStation Plus. They are going to try to pull in people who watch the movies, who watch the TV shows, and also want to play games. And then they're obviously going to have all of those crossover IPs between TV shows and the games that they make, so they can broaden their range of people that actually are be interested in picking up a PlayStation 5 or jumping into the PlayStation ecosystem. And I think this is another sign. Pretty much exactly what Don Matrick wanted to do back in 2013. He was just too far ahead of the curve, and nobody really wanted that. It was a bad decision. Sony, I think, is going to be going down that mode where the PlayStation is going to be known as the home entertainment platform for everything, movies, TV shows, and gaming, whereas Xbox is going to be continuing to focus on video games, which is I'm very happy about, because that's all really I care about when it comes to these two platforms. I don't care about the movies. I don't care about their TV shows. All I want to see is the games. And I think this year is just another point in that direction. I think we will see more of that, and them expanding out their subscription service to include movies and TV shows and stuff like that. But that's just my guess, and we'll see if that actually is what comes to fruition when they continue to pivot, as they are been pivoting now for the last couple of months. Now, when it comes to Modern Warfare 3, the game early access for the campaign is out. But this was something that is interesting because we've seen a lot of people talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. We've seen the debate as to whether this was going to be a full-fledged title, a full price title, which it ended up being, or just an expansion to MW2, which I've always thought it kind of just seems like an expansion to MW2 that they are charging full price for. And there's kind of some more proof here that this was essentially just DLC, as there have been people that have spotted there is no trophy for a platinum trophy on the PlayStation 5, and it appears that the trophy list as DLC for the previous game. This is according to the website PowerPix. They've posted on Twitter that it claims that the trophy list for Modern Warfare 3 doesn't appear underneath its own distinct entry, and instead the game's trophy list seemingly appears as a subsection underneath Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, as it was a large DLC expansion rather than a standalone game. This doesn't surprise me whatsoever. I mean, I feel like they were going down that route, and then they decided at the last minute to release it as its own full standalone game. I mean, the campaign itself is brand new. There are some new features in there and more of an open style of campaign, which I think is very cool. It's kind of what I'm more excited about than anything when it comes to MW3. But the multiplayer seemingly is going to be very, very similar to what's currently out there with MW2. So the maps and everything, you kind of could just consider DLC. So we'll see if maybe this is just an error. Maybe they will add a platinum trophy. Maybe it will be its own standalone later as the game officially releases, I believe, next week. Now let's talk about Bungie, because as we know, it's been a bad week for PlayStation. It's been a bad week for Bungie, as there were the layoffs and there was the entire story that came out after the layoffs as to some of the things else that weren't good for the employees, like losing their health benefits literally right away because they expired at the end of the month. You had the head at the studio saying that the employees there were the right employees, and people were getting annoyed about that. We now kind of know here more information as to what happened. It says your Bungie tells Destiny fans, "We know we've lost your trust amid the layoffs and the delay reports." And there was also the announcement of the delays of Marathon, or the speculation that they were going to announce delays for Marathon and for Destiny 2. And they don't really mention the delays here either. So that's still kind of up in the air as to just exactly what the delays are going to be. But here is what Bungie took to their website to say. Here's what they said. "This has been one of the most difficult weeks in our studio's history, as we've parted ways with people we respect and admire. We spent this week supporting one another, including those who are at the studio, as well as friends and colleagues who no longer are. We want to acknowledge the feedback and concerns you have about Lightfall and recent seasons, as well as your responses to the reveal of the final shape. We know we have lost a lot of your trust. Destiny needs to surprise and delight. We haven't done this enough, and that's going to change." And then they continue here to say, "To us, the path forward is clear. We need to make the final shape an unforgettable Destiny experience. We want to build something that will be regarded alongside the best games we've ever made, a fitting culmination that honors the journeys we've been on together for the past 10 years. Forsaken, the Witch Queen, and the Taken King. These are the standard bearers we aim to live up to. We are intensely focused on exceeding your expectations for the final shape. Destiny 2 has more than 650 dedicated teammates pouring all their energy and expertise into delivering this epic moment and its subsequent episodes." Now, they say that the company signed off by claiming that in the weeks ahead, you'll be hearing more from us about what's next on the short-term horizon. Afterwards, we'll begin to unpack our team's bigger, bolder, and brighter visions for the final shape, as well as the bridge we plan to build to take us all out of the darkness and into the light. So no mention whatsoever here in this release about a delay for the final shape, and that with Marathon were in these reports after all of the layoffs that were occurring. I mean, Bungie really has no choice here. They have to wow with their next expansion. It has to be something people are talking about, and potentially the best expansion to Destiny 2 after everything that has gone on right now, where there is a lot of doubts in Bungie right now. There's a lot of doubt in Sony in what's happening behind the scenes, the restructuring, it looks like, the pivoting. So this is their chance to kind of put all that to rest by releasing an incredible expansion for Destiny. And we'll see how they do it. They laid off a lot of great people, and the people there, I'm sure, still can do a great job. It'll be seeing what happens moving forward, how they utilize their current resources that they have. Less staff, that's always going to be difficult to work with, especially as you're working through trying to make something great and something new. Now let's jump over here. And when it comes to PlayStation and their strategy and the pivoting, this all ties into what's going on here with Bungie, with them laying off employees. A lot of people are looking at record sales for PlayStation 5. And that's all well and good. I was even somebody who said they can't be that doom and gloom of PlayStation because they're selling very, very well. But what makes the difference here between your company being successful or not is that profit, the profit margin, and how much money you're making by selling all of these PS5s. Kind of compare the sales of PlayStations, the sales of Xboxes, and you compare it to something like the sales of the Nintendo Switch. And the profit margin Nintendo has is absolutely insane, which is why they still push the 2017 version of the Switch, because they are making tons of money off every console sold. PlayStation is not making nearly as much as Nintendo is every time they sell a PS5. We have this analysis here from Dom's Playing, who has his blog, and he is an avid gamer, industry analyst, and does lots of great stuff here when looking at the financial reports from PlayStation, from Xbox, and from the gaming companies. He says here, a misconception I'm seeing in the light of layoffs is PlayStation making record profits. Sales are at record levels. Last annualized operating profit is the lowest since fiscal year 2019. Expenses are mounting. Margins are slim. There's a reason for PS Plus and digital PS5 price increases. And that's it right here. I think this is pretty indicative as to what is going on here at PlayStation, with the layoffs, with always having the sure bet when it comes to video games, not taking risks with putting out different types of IPs because they don't want to risk not being able to make money off of those games or making enough money off of those games. The margins are very slim at PlayStation, as it's costing more and more for them to develop their big AAA games. And they're going to have to make changes as we're seeing them pivot to be able to increase their profit margins, to be able to make more money off of everything that they are doing. When it's costing $200+ million to make a game, it is a very hard task to make all of that money back, and to make enough money back where the investors are satisfied with the profits that the company is making. As he says here, it's the last annualized operating profit is the lowest since fiscal year 2019. So what's PlayStation going to do? They're making changes, and that is they have to broaden their horizon. They have to broaden the people that are going to be investing and playing within the PlayStation ecosystem. What I think happened at PlayStation, the biggest downfall at that company right now, is they took way too long. They did not react at all to what Xbox was doing, or even better, they didn't make any changes thinking that Xbox was going to just fall over and die after the Xbox One generation. I don't think they expected Xbox to come back as strong as they have come back, and they just have not pivoted enough. They focused way too much on console exclusivity, when the reality of the situation is a small percentage of people who buy PlayStations actually purchase their first party games. They need to broaden their horizons. They need to put their games out everywhere that they can. They need to try to reach more people outside of the PS5. Stop focusing on the hardcore console fanboys, because those aren't the ones that are going to be making PlayStation all the money, as only a small percentage of them actually do buy their first party games, like 12% or so from some numbers that we previously saw. And it's showing up here with these analysis as expenses are mounting, but the margins are slim, and they're going to have to find a way to expand those margins and make more money within the PlayStation platform. So we'll see what happens. The pivoting right now, it's very interesting. Xbox did the same thing back in 2017. That was an extremely intriguing time in the industry, whether Xbox was going to go away quietly, or were they going to make huge changes to become the beast that they are right now. And PlayStation is going to have to do the same thing. Even though they've been successful for many generations and for many, many years, they're going to have to make changes now if they want to continue to be a leader in the gaming industry. And finally, let's talk about this. This is something that is signaling the changeover of Call of Duty to being a first-party Xbox game. There was a full screen pop-up ad for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on your Xbox today when you boot it up. You can see here it says, buy now, get the Vault Edition upgrade or exit. And this was because you have the early release of the Modern Warfare 3 campaign. If you got that Vault Edition, you're able to play through the campaign. And it's obviously as well signaling that this is now a first-party Xbox game. I believe they did this exact same thing with Starfield. They'll probably continue to do these types of ads with all of their first-party releases. So pretty cool to see that they already are ready and integrating Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 into their first-party ecosystem and the way that they're going to be advertising the games when they do release. But I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.